If 2015 was a watershed year in the US-Cuba relations with the resumption of the diplomatic ties and the opening of embassies, then 2016 could be looked back as a year of definition as the two former adversaries moved past ceremony and tackled the hard issues that still separated them. However, 2017 may have just been hit with a roadblock in further progress. You're watching our special edition here on WION with me, Sana Khan. Over the next few minutes, we try and understand better the US President's new policy on Cuba, which he unveiled just hours ago in Miami, Florida, what it means for Washington, Havana, and the people at large. Well, the US President Donald Trump rolled back parts of the Cuba policy which were brought into effect by his predecessor Barack Obama. Speaking in Miami, Trump said that the new policy would tighten rules affecting travel on sending funds to the Caribbean island nation, but he is not reversing key diplomatic and commercial ties and will not close the US embassy in Havana. Commercial flights from the US will continue, as will allowing Americans to return home with Cuban goods. Trump said the Obama administration's March 2016 deal with the brutal Castro government was terrible and misguided. Donald Trump signed a presidential directive calling for tighter enforcement of a long-standing ban on American tourists going to Cuba. The new policy bans most U.S. business transactions with the Armed Forces Business Enterprises Group, a Cuban entity involved in all sectors of the economy.
We will enforce the ban on tourism. We will enforce the embargo. We will take concrete steps to ensure that investments flow directly to the people so they can open private businesses and begin to build their country's great future, a country of great potential.
Meanwhile, protesters in densely Cuban-American populated Miami came out to protest for and against Trump's Cuba policy clampdown on Friday. Protesters against the policy shift said it would hurt residents on the island nation, especially entrepreneurs. However, others have voiced support for the policy move, saying it would see the full implementation of a trade embargo, which they criticize as being poorly enforced.
This reversal is going to hurt people on the island. Constricting travel to the island is going to hurt Cuban entrepreneurs on the island that host people that are coming there in their own homes. That now what's going to happen is you're going to have Americans that have to go with U.S.-sponsored organizations that are going to do business with the Cuban military-sponsored tourism industry. So who is this policy really helping?
And joining me on the show tonight is Huma Siddiqui, a senior correspondent with the Financial Express newspaper. Thanks, Huma, for joining us here. Now, Donald Trump, if you look at his campaign days, he promised to terminate Obama's policy on Cuba. But if you listen to his soundbite from just last night, they don't nearly go that far. How do you look at Trump's take on Cuba, his policy?
I think, this is more, if you recall, recently also he had said that he's going to do something special for the people of Cuba who was in Miami. And I think it's mostly to do because those were his voters, and he had promised to do something different. But what he has done is not really big. It's, he's just kind of stopped tourism, and he's trying to promise them some big businesses they can do and create back in Cuba. But that cannot be done, if he starts, putting back all those all those sanctions back in place again. So he has to rethink of whatever he's trying to do. And I think he's not gotten so far with the Europeans. He has had a problem. He has had some problem with us. He's having problems with Cuba. He's having problems with Venezuela. So we'll have to just wait and watch, because this is just a, let's just wait and watch, I would say.
All right. It's only fair that you say that, Huma, because, the full scope of the policy is not yet out. It will be out, we are hearing, in about a month's time.
Absolutely.
Right. But,
yes.
Do you think, what will be, according to you, the most visible effect? Will tourism be the most hit? What do you think is going to be the most impacted after this?
there was hardly any, I mean, there was a little bit of tourism, but it was not to the mad proportions that they were expecting, especially after President Obama had lifted the, sanctions. And the traffic of tourism was not that huge. Maybe a little bit of a trickle, maybe people were still trying to, plan going there, but things were not in place as much. And if he's saying he's going to ban tourism, bad luck, because people are wanting to go to that country,
right.
and people from that country are also wanting to come on this side. So he has to find some middle path. He cannot just go back on imposing sanctions which were lifted just because he wants to do wants to undo something that President Obama had done.
Right, and
it doesn't work like that, or does it?
If you go by statistics, 74% increase was observed, in 2016 as compared to the previous year. The number of tourists who were coming into Cuba at that point, and if you have to go by the new policy, you can travel to Cuba in groups, but you can't travel on solo basis as tourists. So
you can. You can still travel in groups, right? And you can, I think maximum that will happen is maybe the group numbers will go down. Maybe, because, these things don't work for long. People, when they want to travel, if you're a true traveler, you will travel.
Got your point, Uma. Got your point. I'll come back to you in just a bit. Padma Rao, WION senior foreign editor, is also on the line with us. Padma, first, let's make one thing clear for our viewers, if there may be some ambiguity on that this is a rollback and not a reversal of Obama's Cuba policy, isn't it? What is the biggest takeaway according to you?
Yeah, hi Sana. That's splitting hairs. Whether it's a rollback or a reversal could only be relevant from the point of view of Floridan Cubans who have voted overwhelmingly always for the Republicans, and even for Trump, despite all the rumblings around his election campaign about what he's going to do south of the Rio Grande, what he's going to do to the Hispanics who are trying to come into the country and all that. Let me point out one thing, Sana. Just a couple of days ago, WION, specifically we looked at Puerto Rico, which is a Caribbean nation, an island state, and very close to Cuba. Puerto Rico was given to the United States in the late 1800s and has remained a colony since then. They had a referendum a couple of days ago, and a very small percentage turned out because there was opposition from Parliament. But the 23% that turned out, 90% of them voted overwhelmingly in favor of becoming the 51st state of the United States because they felt they would have greater rights. Now, I think what Trump can do to unroll or, roll back or whatever term we want to use, the damage that this seems to be doing to his voter base in Florida is to at least, because the matter is now in the Congress and Puerto Rico, a small Puerto Rico is poor, and acknowledging Puerto Rico's referendum and taking in Puerto Rico as the 51st state of the United States might be a balm on the wounds of the Floridan Cubans, whom this move is definitely going to offend.
All right, Padma, do stay with me. I'd also request Ms. Huma Siddiqui to be with us. Let's listen to what analysts, what the think tank people have to say on this. Now, as Donald Trump partially reversed Obama's landmark deal with Cuba, analysts predict that the move will do more harm than good for residents of the Caribbean island. And let's get you some reactions before we move ahead.
The policy of punishing Cuba and isolating Cuba was tried for over 5 decades, and the situation didn't get any better. The human rights conditions remain very bad, so it's unclear why they would improve now after this announcement. And the fact is that people are not going to, the Cubans are not going to change their policies because they want to get in good favor with Donald Trump. So a country that already is suffering, a lot of people, young people especially, are leaving. Others want to go. This is going to further dim the prospects because it will strengthen the hand of those who are opposed to reform and opening up the economy and bringing in foreign investment. Because this is a very, very big blow, this message coming from the Trump administration at this point.
Well, time now just for two quick reactions. Coming to you first, Huma, what will happen next? It's quite clear from the way Donald Trump has gone about business. His message is very clear that it's business for America and nothing else. America First has always been a central plank of whatever he does, whether he engages with another country and when he does. So in this case also, do you think that is the message? Everything that works for America, works for the economy is well and good, everything else not appreciated?
If that's the message he is trying to convey, I don't think that's really going, it's not going out like that. It looks more as if he's trying to create, he's trying to create a situation where people would like to leave Cuba and come on this side, and if he imagines the American companies should go running and set up their base, well, maybe not yet. No one is really sure of what's going to happen, frankly speaking, and I don't imagine all the of course, the American company, the American corporates are waiting for such a situation where they can rush in and just set up and just make everything Americanized in Cuba. That's what they want, right? And if that's what he wants, maybe at some later stage, not yet, not so soon. Okay. I don't think it's going to happen so easily. I personally don't think that it's going to happen so easily.
Okay.
It's going to take some time. It's going to take some more hard work.
Okay, some more hard work. Padma, when Donald Trump said during campaigning he was okay with the concept of opening with Cuba, but he insisted that we as in US should have made a better deal. Is this movement towards that, Donald Trump trying to negotiate what he thinks is a better deal, and will it work?
No, I don't think so. Sana, I strongly disagree with my dear friend Huma because, see, let's not forget that President Donald Trump, the basis of his campaign has been against offshoring. All the U.S. companies that have been offshoring, he has stood against them. So why would he now, introduce new barriers with a new country with whom relations are warming of late, whether under Republican or whether under Democrat. In this case, under Democrat because President Obama was it. Why would he want to start this whole business of offshoring again? So this is a puzzle to me, as indeed many of President Donald Trump's policies. So I suggest we tread softly because, he's turning out to be many of the policies that he's announced and then, withdrawn and re-announced. This is a kind of a new foreign policy trend that he's setting. And I think we need to, watch these steps because, frankly speaking, the way it's been going with foreign policy from the State Department of the United States, I don't know what this actually means till it pans out. But right now I'd like to say he needs to do something to revive the hopes and the interests of all the Cuban Floridans who have voted Republican traditionally, and he needs, I think it would be a small gesture to recognize an entirely unrelated thing, but which has come up, almost simultaneously and parallelly to this, which is Puerto Rico, asking to be the 51st state of the United States. It's a small risk he can take, but there's a lot of goodwill involved, which he could win.
Absolutely. We'll still have to wait and watch out for the full scope of the revised policy, but right now things are as they stand, and very difficult to see how things will move forward, but we'll get a hint of that in the days to come. Thanks so much, Ms. Huma Siddiqui and Padma Rao for joining me here this evening. That's it then on this edition. We're going to be taking a short break. News and updates continue right here on WION. This is me, Sana Khan, signing off.